Narrator explains that noble families are sustained and flourish through the strength of their members. The silver-haired woman represents the awakened individuals adopted into noble houses regardless of their bloodline. Legend states members of the Pasaian bloodline return to the sea as divine whale beasts. The Pasaian duchy strengthens itself by adopting children who receive prophecies from the divine whale. Admiral Daigon Pasayam, the family head's fourth son, commands the navy with a stern gaze. Daigon once lived happily with his pink-haired wife before the family met a tragic fate. The couple raised 2 sons and a daughter together in a house filled with flowers. A violent storm at sea claimed the lives of both his wife and his young daughter. The Grand Pasaian Mansion stands as a silent monument to the family's wealth and power. The pink-haired girl stares in confusion at a glowing system notification floating right before her eyes. The green-haired man introduces the young girl as the admiral's daughter to the gathered people. Diadon stands tall, observing the tiny girl who is being introduced to him as his family. The adorable young girl wears a strawberry patterned dress while looking around with wide, curious eyes. Formerly known as a daycare class leader, Chu begins her new life in the Pasaian household. She confidently claims to be the smartest student in her class while posing in her dress. Nums! The girl happily munches on a pink macaron, claiming she always eats the very best treats. Her daycare teacher warned her that the Pasaian family strictly ranks members based on their power. She was told never to let her guard down within the competitive environment of the duchy. Diagon lifts the girl and officially bestows the name Super T Pasaian upon his new daughter. Her new grandfather laughs warmly while commenting that she looks perfectly fine and healthy to him. A blue window invites her to a variety show with blessings from spirit kings as rewards. The young girl's blue eyes widen in total shock at the strange digital invitation appearing before her. Mirrored system messages float around the girl, instructing her to check her status and dance. She wonders if the spirits are teasing her or simply doting on her with their strange antics. Daigon explains that being loved by spirits is a rare, innate talent only a few possess. He notes that receiving a direct blessing from a spirit king is an exceptionally rare and prestigious honor. A main quest activates, tasking her with charming all the spirit kings to earn a special title. She asks if acting adorable will win the adult's favor and receives a positive response. With a determined step, the girl prepares to tackle the spirit king's quest one by one. Carrying a heavy stack of books, she vows to become a true, worthy member of the Pasaian family. Pat pat, the little girl runs down the mansion stairs with a heavy bag in her arms. Patter patter, her tiny feet move across the floor as she hurries toward the daycare teacher. Bright flowers bloom as the pink-haired girl holds a large bag filled with delicious fresh bread. Chu excitedly reports receiving a large gift of butter from a kind lady to her teacher. While receiving a gentle head pat, Chu happily introduces herself and greets the people around her. Chu proudly identifies herself as the representative of the Carrot class at the Peekaboo Daycare Center. The daycare provides a safe home for children who lost their parents during dangerous pirate attacks. Orphan children are raised, fed, and kept safe within the walls of the Grand Peekaboo Daycare. The story shifts back to a cold winter day when heavy snow was falling over the city. The Carrot class teacher found Chu shivering alone in the freezing cold and brought her inside. A warm hand reaches out toward a small, trembling child to offer comfort and a new beginning. When the teacher asks which class she prefers, Chu quickly chooses the Carrot class. Chu explains her preference for the Carrot class is based on her love for eating. Chu and her friends dream of growing up to become strong maids or kitchen staff at the daycare. She imagines her future self as a skilled baker, making endless amounts of delicious bread and cookies. To reach her goal, Chu realizes she must eat plenty of food to grow big and strong. Chu takes a huge, satisfied bite out of her bread roll covered in melting golden butter. The teacher and the green-haired man inform Chu that someone has arrived to see her. Munch munch, Chu looks up in surprise while still eating her buttered bread roll. The Grand Pasaian Mansion glows under the morning sun, reflecting its immense architectural splendor. Chu resolves to eat much more bread to grow larger while simultaneously wondering who the man standing before her might be. Admiral Diagon mentions returning home after 6 months of fighting pirates and bluntly asks for an explanation regarding the child's presence. The green-haired aide clarifies that the girl is a living being for His Excellency to raise, explicitly identifying her as his new daughter. Looking up at the tall man, the pink-haired girl is immediately struck by his massive physical stature. Chu thinks he is ridiculously handsome and huge, but Diagon counters by remarking that she looks like a tiny baby sea squirt. Offended by the sea squirt comparison, the girl immediately retracts her previous thought about him being handsome. Diagon asks for the little one's name, and she tries to answer but can only manage a muffled sound. The girl shakes her head vigorously and tries again to shout her name with all her might. He assumes her name is Shu because he refuses to believe someone could simply be named Chu, making her dislike him even more. Diagon narrows his eyes and leans in close, focusing on a specific spot of butter smeared onto her cheek. He wonders aloud if the girl was sent to him buttered up specifically so that he would eat her. The green-haired man stretches the girl's face into a smile while Diagon observes her grumpy reaction. He asks if she is angry, noting she looks like a furious crab, while she internally compares him to a shark. After learning she is 4, Daegon criticizes her inability to speak properly, while Chu frustratedly thinks her words just won't come out. He mocks her abilities by recounting his son's legendary dolphin-riding feats at the same young age, leaving Chu in shock. Daegon doubts she was simply found on the street, and the aide confirms they didn't just pick her up randomly. The aide urges him to accept her, explaining she is a child chosen by the ancestor whale and a promising empath. He claims she is highly intelligent for her age, while Chu proudly reminds herself she was the smartest in carrot class. Tugging on the aide's clothes, she asks if becoming a young lady means she can't cook anymore. With a smile, the aide explains that such tasks are for maids and she will not have to cook at all. Chu is horrified as her dream of wearing a tall chef's hat like her teacher's begins to fall apart. She raises her hand high, announcing that she has something very important she wants to say. Sensing the Admiral's lack of interest in her, Chu concludes that he doesn't actually want her as a daughter either. She firmly declares her talent for baking snacks and insists that she is going to continue cooking regardless. Daegon is struck by a sudden wave of shock at the toddler's blunt and assertive personality. He reflects on the fact that he has been rejected to his face for the first time in his 37 years. The scene shifts to the head of the house, Lord Galazard Poseidon, who is informed that Daegon has arrived to see him. Daegon approaches the seated patriarch and formally addresses him as father, while a tense atmosphere fills the room. Galazard immediately tells Daegon to turn around and leave, stating he has no intention of taking the girl in. He lists her qualifications as an awakener and a child personally chosen by the ancestor whale to justify her presence. Daegon smiles mockingly and suggests his father should go punch the ancestor whale himself if he has a problem. Galazard becomes enraged at his son's disrespect, while Daegon clenches his fist in silent frustration against his own father. He questions why he must be the one, suggesting his childless eldest sister would be a more logical choice for adoption. Galazard asks if he truly doesn't understand the reasoning, claiming Daegon must have seen the resemblance as well. The patriarch states that the child looks very much like her, causing Daegon to freeze in place with a shocked expression. A shadow of a girl appears as Daegon harshly denies she is his daughter, noting his own would be 9 this year. Galazard demands to know how much longer he plans to live like a rampaging vagrant instead of taking responsibility. He silences further argument and commands Daegon to stop fighting and raise the girl as his own. A magnificent tower of glittering cakes, pies, and sandwiches is presented on a lavish dining table. Chu happily munches on a pink macaron, finding the treat to be exceptionally tasty and sweet. A kind maid offers her a slice of apple crumble pie, which the girl accepts with wide, sparkly eyes. She feels overwhelming happiness and resolves to become a kitchen maid who can make such delicious macarons herself. Chu suddenly realizes that eating them all by herself would be greedy and stops her feast to think of others. She looks down at the remaining treats with a conflicted, pouting expression while trying to be generous. Tugging at the maid's apron, Chu looks up and tells the woman that there is something she needs. Using an irresistible, teary-eyed gaze, she asks if she could possibly have just one more treat. The maid is flustered as Chu explains she needs enough for her 9 classmates after eating one herself. Her teacher notices she is holding up all 10 fingers, quickly catching the girl in her clever little trick. Chu cheekily admits she wants to eat one more for herself, leaving the adults completely charmed by her antics. Hugged tightly, the girl thanks the maid, who offers her countless sweet treats to eat. The maid greets the Admiral while the pink-haired girl reacts fearfully to the shark-like ma'am. Daegon urges the girl to follow, but she pouts and insists her name is Chu. Gazing down, the Admiral finally agrees to raise her, though he still calls her Shu. Daegon officially declares her his daughter, leaving the small girl frozen in a state of shock. A promotional banner features various warriors and translators ready for a new recruitment drive. A purple-haired chibi witch floats beside a moonlit window, inviting readers to continue the story. Tucked into a massive ornate bed, the small girl finds the mattress to be incredibly soft. Blink, blink, she stares at the ceiling, feeling as if she is floating on sweet cotton candy. She wistfully remembers the comfort of sleeping huddled together with her many friends at daycare. White flowers and soft petals drift through the air, marking a gentle transition in time. A montage shows her initial refusal to be raised, followed by her teacher offering gentle comfort. Pat, pat, the teacher comforts the crying girl who longs to return to the daycare to bake. Determined to be a chef, Chu announces her dream while the Admiral listens with curiosity. Daegon promises she can use the mansion kitchen freely and learn to cook from the staff. Her teary blue eyes widen with hope as she asks if his promise is actually real. Back in the present, the little girl realizes that sleeping alone in luxury feels rather lonely. The scene shifts across a floral field toward the morning sky, continuing her quiet night of reflection. She recalls the reminder that she resides in the grand mansion because she is a special child. The legendary ancestor whale swims through deep blue waters, protected by the daily prayers of the family. A warm image of her daycare teacher smiling provides a sense of peace during a restless night. Mumbled, the little girl whispers the word "dad" to herself while lying awake in the dark. Feeling overwhelmed by the awkwardness of her new situation, she quickly dives under the heavy blankets. Peek, her curious eyes emerge from the covers as she remembers her teacher's description of the Admiral. Stories of the legendary naval commander fighting a massive mermaid king fill the young girl's imagination. She struggles to reconcile the handsome war hero with the man who called her a sea squirt. To her, calling him dad feels as unpleasant as eating broccoli compared to sweet sugar cubes. Chu ponders her status as an awakener and wonders if being smart is truly enough to succeed. She resolves to act mature and do well to avoid making her beloved teacher worry about her. Dressed in a strawberry patterned dress, the girl gives a polite greeting as she joins the dinner table. A lavish spread of roasted chicken, lobster, and delicacies glows under the warm dining room lights. Munch munch, the girl happily eats while Daigon watches her from across the long grand table. The Admiral notes that her status as an awakener will likely make her future learning much easier. Eager to prove herself, the pink-haired girl shouts a spirited response while still holding her fork. Daigon explains that her destiny was chosen by the ancestor whale, leading her to the training hall. Curious about the rules, Chu asks if there is a class president system among the mansion's children. Daigon is unsure, but his green-haired aide, Kamin, confirms that such a leadership system indeed exists. Kamin explains that Lady Cecilia's children have held the prestigious president positions for a long time. He notes that Daigon's long absences at sea likely kept him from hearing Lady Cecilia's frequent boasting. While the adults discuss politics, the little girl remains focused on enjoying her delicious meal. The Admiral reaches out his hand, acknowledging her directly as he prepares to make a significant offer. For the first time, Daigon addresses the girl by her name, Chu, with a serious expression. He promises to send extra support and boxes of treats to her friends at the daycare center. Her eyes sparkle with pure joy as she asks if he truly intends to send the sweets. Whispering to the side, Chu asks Kamin if she can squeeze even more favors out of him. Kamin is completely taken aback by the toddler's sudden and bold request for more leverage. Crossing her arms with a pout, the girl assumes a businesslike stance to negotiate her future. Daigon asks what she wants, noticing her intense gaze across the remains of their dinner. A radiant, happy smile spreads across her face as she successfully wins the Admiral's favor. A bright pink bubble announces her next big step, heading toward the family training hall. Entering the training hall with Daigon, pink-haired Chu prepares to face her new high society life. Glancing back with a blush, Chu admits to herself she felt a flicker of prideful jealousy. Watching Daigon's cold profile, the pink-haired girl reflects that he is not her biological father. Her small, sandaled foot hits the wooden floor with a soft, steady step forward. In the grand classroom, older children whisper about her young age and arrival with the Admiral. Surveying the classroom, Chu realizes this formal setting is nothing like the daycare she once loved. A single stray pink lock of her hair bounces as she takes her lonely seat. Daigon gives her blunt advice to bite anyone who hits her, leaving her utterly baffled. Watching him leave, Chu thinks that while he is handsome, he remains an incredibly terrifying man. Feeling trapped, the girl worries she has become a tiny clownfish caught in a shark's teeth. Her anxiety grows as she continues to imagine her precarious position within the Admiral's powerful family. The tired-looking teacher welcomes the new student and begins a lecture reviewing the nature of awakened. Clinging to her daycare badge, Chu tries to focus on being a proper vice class representative. The exhausted teacher asks why the awakened are important, while Chu notes the dark circles under his eyes. A red-haired boy explains that the awakened are vital for territorial defense and military power during wars. The teacher confirms his answer, explaining how a small, high-quality group of awakened once defeated an entire alliance. He states that every child present has already manifested a bijou or carries the mark for one. Looking at her empty desk, Chu realizes she has never actually seen a bijou before. The word bijou looms large as the teacher marks the board with a sharp rhythmic tap. Confusion fills the girl's mind as she wonders why the adults won't explain what a bijou is. After she introduces herself as Chu, the teacher invites the young girl to share her own thoughts. Stealing her resolve, the pink-haired girl bluntly asks the class to explain exactly what a bijou is. The red-haired boy breaks into mocking laughter at her question, leaving Chu feeling confused and small. Invisible voices sneer at her, asking how she crawled in without knowing such basic, low-level information. The red-haired boy leans back with a smug, condescending smirk directed toward the new student. Feeling insulted, Chu stares at her classmate and internally wonders who this rude, chubby potato is. A defensive thought bubble insists that it is perfectly normal for someone not to know everything. Standing her ground, Chu tells the class that if someone doesn't know something, they should be taught. Ricardo mocks her as a talkative commoner orphan, prompting the other students to join in the laughter. The teacher sighs and commands the room to be quiet, ending the children's cruel and loud mockery. The teacher instructs Chu to find out the definition of bijou by the start of the next class. Later, the teacher asks if she knows the answer, but a dejected Chu admits she is unsure. Raising his hand, the red-haired boy explains that the Song of Blessing heals wounds and enhances power. As the boy smirks, Chu realizes that daycare never prepared her for such complex and magical lessons. She reflects that while magic is confusing, she knows exactly how to bake perfect chocolate chip cookies. Overwhelmed by the academic pressure and social hostility, the little girl feels a wave of pure frustration. A sharp tap sounds as the teacher closes his book and announces the end of the lesson. The classroom empties, leaving the pink-haired girl sitting alone at her desk with a heavy heart. Chu pulls out cookies made by maid Lena, seeking comfort in a sweet treat after the difficult class. Her snack is interrupted by a sudden shadow, causing her to look up with a startled expression. Ricardo and two other boys loom over Chu, looking down at her with clear hostile intent. Shouting into her face, the red-haired boy demands to know if she truly arrived with the Admiral. While still chewing, Chu wonders why the boys are so angry about her connection to the Admiral. One boy roughly grabs her, yelling that Ricardo is speaking to her, while Chu cries out in surprise. Her cookies fall and shatter on the floor, leaving her heartbroken over the ruined, unfinished treats. Looking at her shattered snack, Chu is stunned when Ricardo demands that she be the one apologizing. The pink-haired girl stares back in disbelief, her eyes widening as her anger begins to boil over. She tells the boys that if it were an accident, they should apologize and offer a hug. Ricardo loses his patience and rips the class representative badge off her dress, mocking its very existence. Desperate, Chu begs for her precious badge back, terrified that her only link to daycare is being stolen. Overwhelmed by the cruel behavior of her peers, the pink-haired girl pleads for help. Ricardo aggressively confronts Chu, questioning her status as an awakened and her possession of a bijou. Mocking her connection to the Admiral, the boy dares Chu to try and reclaim her badge. Jealousy flares as the red-haired boy admits he coveted her position as the class representative. With a sneer, Ricardo destroys the sunflower badge while dismissing the importance of her former role. Heartbroken on the floor, Chu endures insults as her classmate labels her a lowly, filthy commoner. She reflects on the emotional value of the badge, a precious memory of her daycare teacher. The arrogant boy commands Chu to leave the mansion, certain that she has no right to stay. Confusion strikes the red-haired boy as he notices a sudden change in the atmosphere around her. A massive surge of magical energy begins to manifest, swirling around the distressed young girl. Reaching her limit, the pink-haired girl realizes she can no longer endure the relentless bullying. Flooding the room with blinding light, Chu undergoes a terrifying transformation as her hidden power awakens. Pure terror grips Ricardo as he witnesses the sheer scale of the power emerging from her. The magical aura intensifies, signaling the arrival of an ancient and incredibly powerful spiritual entity. Shock ripples through the classroom as the students realize a commoner has summoned a high-ranking spirit. Blue energy ripples from Chu's hand as she unwittingly channels the destructive force of water. A violent explosion of spiritual power strikes the red-haired boy, sending him flying backward in agony. Chaos erupts as students beg for mercy while Chu feels the weight of her immense power. Succumbing to the strain of the spiritual summoning, the girl's consciousness begins to fade away. Daegan cradles the unconscious girl while Kamin explains the mission delayed their arrival at the hall. The Admiral's intervention saved the students from a massacre caused by the young girl's spiritual rampage. Kamin notes that Ricardo's core is damaged, likely leading to his disinheritance for being deemed useless. Tending to the sleeping girl, Daegan listens as she tearfully mumbles about her lost school badge. The Admiral reflects that he only intended for her to fight back, not summon a king. Daegan is contemplative as he realizes the girl is uniquely beloved by a powerful spirit king. Kamin dismisses the idea of her being a homunculus, noting that spirits only love pure beings. Poking the girl's cheek, Daegan thinks her previous guardian was insane for trying to claim her. The green-haired aide smiles warmly, observing the budding trust between the young girl and the Admiral. Surrounded by flowers, Daegan holds the sleeping pink-haired girl as she clings tightly to his side. Recognizing her new life, the Admiral decides that the young girl requires a brand new name. A glowing banner officially bestows the name Supratai upon the girl, marking her new noble identity. The name symbolizes the guiding North Star and a goddess of battle, reflecting her dual destiny. Trapped in a lonely dream, the little girl cries out for the comfort of her mother. A distant figure reminds her to be strong as a leader, but Chu feels completely incapable. Waking with a start, the girl's blue eyes are filled with tears from her distressing dream. A small purple-haired figure hugs a plush toy while a notice reminds readers of the source. Maid Lena offers a kind smile, checking if the girl remembers her after her long slumber. Rubbing her eyes, Chu admits her memories of the recent incident feel strangely erased and fuzzy. The kind maid reassures her as she prepares the girl for another day in the Grand Mansion. Joining a lavish meal, Chu is stunned by the presence of a new, powerful-looking bearded man. Her eyes widen with delight as she anticipates eating the delicious spread of food before it. The older man watches her with a friendly expression, welcoming his new family member to dinner. Chu realizes she is meeting the influential head of the Pasayan family for the first time. The older man mentions the Spirit King while sharing a laugh with the stoic Admiral Daegan. Worry clouds her mind as she thinks about her old friends and wonders about her future rewards. The bearded patriarch scolds Daegan for his rudeness, eager to properly greet his new, precious granddaughter. A glowing blue notification reveals a protective message from the Water Spirit King regarding his chosen child. Stunned by the floating text, the pink-haired girl stares in utter confusion at the magical phenomenon. The Spirit King's protective declaration remains visible, hovering in the air as a testament to her power. A tempting meal of golden pasta and roasted meat sits ready for the hungry young girl. The pink-haired girl stares blankly as a mysterious glowing blue window suddenly materializes before her. Rubbing her eyes, she tries to clear her vision, but the strange magical notification remains visible. Confusion turns to concern as she realizes the floating text is not going to vanish easily. A system notification reveals an invitation from the Water Spirit King to join a special chat room. She puzzles over the request, wondering why a spirit would invite her to a parenting show. Bright icons surround the affirmative choice, making the invitation look incredibly friendly and very appealing. Deciding to participate, she uses her fork to press the glowing button with a soft click. Multiple Spirit Kings enter the chat room, expressing their excitement and protective nature over their chosen child. Spotting the Admiral, she decides to ask the dark-haired man for an explanation of the phenomenon. Her face lights up with hope as she anticipates gaining some clarity from her powerful guardian. She attempts to explain the chat room, but only cute, high-pitched peeping sounds emerge from her mouth. The Admiral sternly forbids her from making bird noises at the table while she struggles internally. Surrounded by imaginary chicks, she stands frozen in a state of utter shock and extreme embarrassment. A purple-haired witch girl appears, waving a cheerful greeting from within a stylized promotional frame. Feeling discouraged, she slumps onto the floor after receiving a minor scolding during the morning mail. She reflects on her etiquette mistake while noting that she felt strangely possessed during the incident. Despite the stern rules, she senses a hidden warmth and doting affection from her new family. Turning to the small, white-haired spirit, she asks for the true meaning of being a darling. The tiny spirit, Yuppie, rubs his head in concentration while trying to formulate a proper response. Seeing his distress, she jokingly worries that the little spirit is being bullied by her questions. A notification explains that the kings intend to cherish her like a beloved niece forever. This news brings a bright smile to her face as she realizes her future is bright. Radiating pure joy, she basks in the overwhelming feeling of being loved by such powerful entities. Yuppie points toward the distance, eager to guide her through the next phase of her journey. She looks up in surprise at the mention of a quest. Her curiosity immediately piqued once more. Yuppie explains that receiving such collective attention from Spirit Kings is a historic, once-in-an-epic event. He emphasizes her unique status, making her realize she is truly the first of her kind. A glowing banner highlights how exceptionally rare it is for the Spirit Kings to show interest. In a celebratory mood, she proudly holds up a sign marking the start of her quest. She wiggles with excitement, her small frame practically vibrating with newfound energy and a playful spirit. She pauses to consider her next move, taking the weight of her new responsibilities very seriously. Maid Lena interrupts her thoughts, offering a fun activity involving dough to cure her boredom. Delighted by the suggestion, she agrees immediately and prepares to show off her impressive baking skills. She confidently explains her daycare experience while the maid prepares the table for their culinary project. Her small hands work the dough with practiced ease, pressing and shaping the soft, squishy material. The tactile sensation brings her a sense of calm as she admits her love for making sweets. A small jar appears with the soft pop containing a mysterious substance labeled as a reward. She recognizes the item as a special prize for her previous helpful actions toward the Admiral. Clutching the jar of energy sugar, she marvels at the magical gift she has just received. She carefully eyes the dough, planning how to incorporate the special ingredient into her latest creation. Intending to make powerful energy cookies, she prepares to add the magical sugar to the mixture. She pours the white powder, imagining the incredible boost of energy it will provide to everyone. Panic strikes her as she accidentally spills the precious reward, lamenting the loss of the ingredient. A distraught purple-haired girl weeps over a small creature mirroring the young girl's current emotional state. Maid Lena brings over adorable cookie molds, helping to distract her from the accidental sugar spill. Her excitement returns as she decides to make charming bear-shaped treats for her new household. Standing with the maid and the chef, she watches the oven with intense focus and anticipation. The oven door opens with a metallic clatter, releasing a wave of heat and delicious aromas. Golden bear cookies emerge, looking absolutely perfect and ready to be enjoyed by the entire family. The mustache chef asks for further instructions while she requests that the treats be packed up. Smiling brightly, the pink-haired girl expresses her sincere gratitude with a joyful and energetic exclamation. Overcome by the girl's overwhelming cuteness, the mustached head chef collapses while clutching his chest. The butler urges the dramatic chef to survive so he can continue witnessing the girl's charm. Clutching her bag of bear cookies, the pink-haired girl waves goodbye and promises to return soon. Walking through the mansion, Maid Lena explains that everyone dotes on the girl because she is adorable. The small girl beams with happiness, cherishing the bag of treats she made with her own hands. Holding the maid's hand, the pink-haired girl inquires about the identity of the person named Cedric. Raising a finger, the kind maid prepares to explain the important role Cedric plays within the household. Cedric, a blue-haired man with glasses, is described as the overworked manager of all family information. The maid reveals that because previous teachers quit, the busy aide also handles the children's education. The girl asks if her grandfather will be working tomorrow, and Lena confirms Cedric is always busy. Surrounded by roses, the pink-haired girl looks up excitedly as the maid offers to guide her tomorrow. As the sun rises, a distant voice instructs the blue-haired aide to head toward the classroom. Looking completely drained, Cedric sighs in exhaustion and expresses his desperate desire to return to his home. A heavy footstep echoes as the aide laments his lack of sleep and dreams of long rest. Peeking into the room, the tired blue-haired man admits he simply lacks the energy to get up. The pink-haired girl suddenly appears and calls out to her teacher, startling the exhausted man. A cheerful greeting appears against a backdrop of ripe strawberries, asking the teacher if he slept well. Wearing a pink bunny-eared hat, the small girl stares up with wide, hopeful eyes at her teacher. Lush strawberries and delicate lace frame the morning scene, creating a soft and whimsical atmosphere. A tiny, white-haired spirit with wings floats gracefully, surrounded by a gentle glow and blooming flowers. Bowing politely, the small spirit introduces himself as Eupyros, the manager and butler for the Spirit Kings. Staring at her breakfast, the girl is amazed by the magical text and the sudden appearance of a fairy. She considers the role of a butler and wonders about the true importance of the powerful Spirit Kings. The pink-haired girl feels bewildered by the growing number of powerful people who want to race her. She recalls the frustration of only being able to make bird noises when attempting to speak seriously. Deciding to prioritize her meal, she stabs a piece of food while a system notification agrees. While chewing her food, the young girl wonders about the identities of the other two Spirit Kings. Maid Lena places a dish on the table, gently encouraging the young lady to eat her healthy vegetables. The plate of mashed potato salad and green beans causes the girl to frown in silent protest. She pokes at her meal with a fork, clearly unenthusiastic about the healthy green beans on her plate. Admiral Diagon stares sternly, commanding her to eat all her healthy food without leaving a single bite. With a grumpy expression, the girl forces herself to take a large bite of the mashed potatoes. Glancing sideways, she cautiously checks to see if the Admiral is still monitoring her every move. The dark-haired man watches her intensely with a cold and unwavering gaze, making her feel incredibly nervous. She continues to chew her meal under the watchful eye of her guardian, feeling the weight of his stare. A close-up of Diagon's face reveals his demand for her to eat even more of the healthy meal. Tearing up, she thinks grown-ups should eat the beans instead and insists she is already plenty strong. Looking at her plate, she puzzles over the meaning of a blessing and whether it is actually beneficial. A small white butterfly flutters through the air, catching her attention as it drifts toward her face. The butterfly lands softly on her nose, leading her to wonder if this small creature is the blessing. Sitting across from the patriarch, Diagon refuses to join for lunch, stating he is far too annoyed. A quick shimmer of light appears near the girl as she contemplates the situation with a curious gaze. She looks slightly confused, unable to determine what has actually changed following the appearance of the butterfly. A quest notification appears, tasking her with making Diagon eat beans to earn magical energy-boosting sugar. The pink-haired girl pouts, suspecting that the Spirit Kings are simply finding ways to tease and bother her. She realizes the sugar reward would be perfect for her exhausted teacher, who desperately needs an energy boost. Spirit Kings watch her through notifications, some cheering her on while others hope she fails and chirps. Firmly rejecting the idea of acting like a baby, she vows not to chirp for an entire day. Determined to help her teacher, the pink-haired girl resolves to successfully make the Admiral eat the beans. Pink-haired girl holds a small plate of food, her expression one of quiet determination. She approaches the dining table where the Patriarch and the Admiral sit in anticipation. Admiral Diagon watches her closely as she brings the special dish toward the grand table. A decorative frame captures the girl's heartening philosophy that good food should always be shared. Radiating pure happiness, she presents her carefully prepared meal with wide, sparkling blue eyes. She sets the food down while Diagon remains stoically silent, observing her every little movement. The Patriarch jokingly asks if she is trying to trick the Admiral into eating her vegetables. Laughter erupts as the Patriarch teases the Admiral for still not being called father by her. Diagon closes his eyes and sighs, feeling the weight of the Patriarch's relentless fatherhood teasing. The young girl blinks in confusion, trying to understand the sudden change in the atmosphere. A sharp close-up of the Admiral's eye reveals his deep, brooding focus on the child's actions. A system notification announces that she will soon be recognized as a formal noble young lady. She reflects on being chosen by the whale ancestor spirit while looking off into the distance. Surrounded by broccoli, she admits that calling him Dad currently feels quite unappealing to her. Spirit notifications offer humorous nickname suggestions while the Water Spirit King encourages her to choose freely. A large hand lifts her up, emphasizing how the family long ago began accepting non-blood relatives. Swirling patterns highlight the importance of the ancestor whale's choices for the future of the house. Surrounded by blue flowers, the Admiral holds the girl gently as she looks up in surprise. Sitting comfortably on the Admiral's lap, she offers a soft while he remains quiet. Her eyes sparkle as she realizes this is the perfect position to feed the Admiral beans. Diagon explains that while the head position is restricted, an adoptee can still reach I rank. The Admiral begins to state her specific family role, his voice sounding calm and deeply serious. He is suddenly silenced as a quick sounds when food is shoved into his mouth. Stunned and confused, the Admiral freezes with the fork still held between his own teeth. Realizing her bold move, the pink-haired girl lets out a small, startled act of mild panic. Dialagon stares in utter shock while the Patriarch's loud pafahahaha begins to fill the dining room. The Patriarch bangs his fists on the table, finding the Admiral's forced bean-eating absolutely hilarious. Smiling brightly, the girl cheerfully explains that they should enjoy the healthy beans together as family. She wonders if he wants more while the Patriarch continues his raucous and loud laughing fit. A purple-haired witch girl waves a cheerful greeting from within a stylized purple promotional frame. A morning scene shifts the narrative focus to the sunlit study belonging to the Patriarch Galazard. Cedric reports that the mission entrusted to the young master was completed with total success. A notification confirms the cold execution of spies, highlighting the serious nature of the family's business. Galazard orders the return of the mission leader while Cedric acknowledges the command and continues working. Leaning his head on his hand, the Patriarch asks for an update on Diagon's second son. The scene reveals a young boy lying weak and bedridden within a quiet and dimly lit room. Galazard dismissively states that the boy's fate is simply decided if his time has finally come. Cedric looks on with hidden concern, questioning the Patriarch's apparent willingness to discard his own grandson. A shimmering memory of a couple represents the potential legacy and the importance of finding treatment. Galazard shifts the conversation, inquiring about the start of the young lady's second education lesson. Cedric writes diligently, acknowledging that her becoming a spirit contractor would be a great family blessing. A close-up of Galazard's golden eyes highlights his belief in the girl's inherent value to him. Cedric closes his eyes in exhaustion, finding the addition of even more work to be annoying. In a chibi style, the Patriarch tells his aide to stop being so grumpy and annoyed. Looking around the vast study, Cedric laments his extreme lack of sleep and the ongoing disrespect. The aide asks about his resignation, but the Patriarch laughs and tells him to go teach. Walking toward the door, Cedric grumbles about his boss likely turning his resignation into paper planes. Wearing a bunny-eared dress, the pink-haired girl looks up with excitement as she prepares for class. Whimsical strawberries and delicate lace frame the background, reflecting the girl's bright and happy morning energy. The exhausted Cedric looks on in surprise as the small girl offers him a cheerful greeting. Lady Chu offers her teacher a small gift bag, making him wonder if it is for him. Radiating pure joy, the pink-haired girl holds a second gift while smiling with her eyes closed. Cedric accepts the present while the young girl reaches up to him with a happy expression. Galazard asks if she only brought one gift, but she reveals one for the Patriarch too. She happily approaches the Patriarch with his treat, explaining that she baked them herself yesterday morning. The teacher observes her fearlessness toward the Patriarch, noting even his daughter Cecilia still feels hesitant. A system window describes her as an orphan from a nursery who dreams of becoming a chef. Galazard examines a bear-shaped cookie while she explains it transforms into a whale when eaten. A system notification explains that the Water Spirit King will protect her whenever she feels threatened. The Patriarch decides to sample the cookie while Cedric watches with a surprised and curious expression. Cedric contemplates eating the treat, fearing he might lose her visits if he shows no interest. He finds the taste average, assuming a maid likely performed the majority of the baking tasks. A soft glow and blooming flowers surround a moment of sudden realization and quiet surprise. The teacher freezes in shock as his intense fatigue begins to vanish after taking one bite. He puzzles over his vanishing exhaustion, staring at the magical cookie with wide and surprised eyes. He calls out to Lady Chu, capturing her attention as she looks back at him with curiosity. With a blush and wide eyes, the teacher urgently asks her exactly how she made the treat. She attributes the incredible effect to the whale while bright and cheerful energy surrounds her. Galazard realizes she gave Cedric the treat specifically because he looked tired, finding her gesture precious. A cheerful giggle sounds as the Patriarch gently pats her head, praising her sweet and considerate heart. A system message confirms the Water Spirit King is incredibly proud of her kind and sweet nature. Cedric looks at the remaining bear cookie, deciding it is far too precious to finish eating. Entering the classroom, the girl is surprised by a very formal and respectful morning greeting. A hand gestures toward an empty seat in the front row, designating it as her position. A startled gasp fills the room as Cedric invites her to sit, shocking the other students. The teacher smiles kindly, causing the pink-haired girl to feel shocked by his uncharacteristic worth. He offers to lend her a fan, preparing to demonstrate a lesson in magic stone engineering. A magical device with a large glowing orb is activated by a hand on the base. Looking at the strange device, she realizes she has never seen a magic fan before today. Cedric points to the tiny spirit stones and explains the basics of magic stone engineering to her. She cheers as the fan blows a cool breeze, thanking her teacher for the interesting demonstration. Students whisper in the background, shocked by Cedric's unprecedented and sudden kindness toward the girl. Her classmates complain about the teacher's blatant favoritism, feeling the discrimination is far too much. Sensing the heavy atmosphere, the girl wonders why everyone in the room seems so tense. A student laments accidentally spilling her ink, realizing what a waste it is to lose supplies. Resting her chin on her hand, the young lady admits she misses her previous classroom friends. She worries that being back in this classroom will remind her of past sorrows and tears. Noticing her bullies are absent, she wonders if the Spirit King scolded them into staying away. Cedric holds his book and begins a lesson on the 8 existing Spirit Kings of the world. While other students complain about repeating familiar lessons, the girl remains focused and eager to learn. The teacher coldly informs the students they are free to leave if they find his lesson boring. He threatens to report them to the patriarch, making the girls in the back flinch in fear. Cedric begins the lesson with a stern gaze, leaving the students feeling terrified of his intensity. A hand writes on the chalkboard stating there are 8 principal spirits in their world. Illustrations depict the elemental spirits of water, fire, earth, and air as vibrant and colorful beings. Identifying them as elemental spirits, he shows they are represented by natural and physical manifestations. Swirling magical energies represent the origin spirits, fate, emotion, luck, and chaos in the universe. A notification list reveals that several Spirit Kings have joined a digital childcare stream for her. The girl realizes that one of the kings who greeted her belongs to these specific groups. Narration explains that emotion was born from the combined hands of the kings of chaos and fate. Narration explains that as life emerged, various Spirit Kings began to populate the world. Cedric explains that contracting with a Spirit King requires finding their hidden true name. A notification ponders the blacked-out names while the Spirit King of emotion huffs proudly. The girl asks for their names, but the Spirit Kings insist she must search herself. With a bright spark of realization, she decides that books might contain the answers. Approaching her teacher's desk, the pink-haired girl politely asks for his guidance on the matter. Cedric informs her that the books she seeks are located within the Grand Family Library. Surrounded by blossoms, she expresses surprise at the existence of a library separate from bookshelves. A sharp, sudden gasp escapes the girl as her eyes widen in a moment of surprise. As she tries to sneak away, she reminds herself to hurry before she is spotted. The Admiral catches her sneaking, causing the girl to let out a startled, high-pitched "eep." Cedric asks the young lady to bake his favorite restorative cookies for him once again. With a desperate gaze, the teacher begs her to consider this a life-saving mission. Rubbing her eyes, the girl explains that she would love to help, but she is exhausted. The scene shifts to the study where the Admiral sits focused on his meticulous paperwork. Kameen clears his throat with a smug smile while proudly displaying his bag of cookies. The Admiral dismissively orders him to remove the suffocatingly sweet treats from his presence immediately. With a mischievous grin, the green-haired aide asks if the Admiral failed to receive any cookies. Kameen taunts the silent Admiral, claiming he was left out of the morning cookie distribution. A question mark appears as the Admiral stares at his aide with a cold, unreadable expression. Laughing, the aide suggests that the young lady simply favors him more than the Admiral. Kameen continues mocking him, suggesting his scary nature prevents the girl from calling him Dad. The Admiral stands up abruptly, making His Excellency's aide pause his taunting with sudden concern. A dark aura surrounds the Admiral as he suggests they spar for the first time in ages. Stunned, Kameen realizes he is in trouble when the Admiral grants him only 5 minutes. The time limit is reduced to 3 minutes, leaving the aide trembling in sheer cartoonish terror. Screaming for help, the green-haired man flees as the Admiral begins his relentless pursuit. Standing alone amidst flowers, the dark-haired Admiral looks downward with a deeply pensive expression. A small handcrafted paper crab rests on the table, showcasing the young lady's creative spirit. A memory of a younger, determined girl wearing a yellow badge fills the frame. The Admiral reflects on his current actions, wondering what exactly he is doing at this moment. Collapsing onto her bed with a tired wah, the pink-haired girl finds total relief. Sprawled out on the yellow bedding, she lets out an exhausted sigh of deep relief. She marvels at how effective her cookies were while recalling her teacher's desperate pleading. A loud grumble from her stomach reminds her that using energy has made her incredibly hungry. Looking out at the starry night, she decides it is finally time to find some dinner. A knock sounds at the door and she calls out for Lena with curious expectation. To her absolute surprise, the Admiral is the one standing at the entrance to her room. Her eyes widen in shock as she recognizes the presence of the formidable Admiral. The man reminds her of the first day she requested his help reaching the classroom. Surrounded by pink roses, the girl smiles brightly as she listens to his calm words. He asks if she performed well during her lessons today while maintaining a serious expression. Looking up at him, the girl wonders why the busy Admiral has come to her room.
Her eyes sparkle as she hopes he brought her a snack to satisfy her hunger.
The Admiral looks away awkwardly, doubting the young lady's optimistic assumptions about his visit. Clearing his throat, he asks why he did not receive a cookie like Kameen did. The pink-haired girl looks up in surprise at the Admiral's unexpected and direct question, but she looks at a bear cookie, tempted to take a bite to sate her growing hunger. A sudden, sharp gasp escapes her as she considers the delicious treat in her hands. The Admiral's intense gaze makes her worry he might crush the cookie with his focus. The pink-haired girl asks why he refuses sweets. He claimed he dislikes them despite always sharing. Looking away awkwardly, the black-haired man admits he only gave them away because she enjoyed them. A bear-shaped cookie is held carefully between fingers, looking soft and delicious. The Admiral looks directly at her, proposing he trade a new name for the simple cookie. Her eyes widen with delight as she realizes she is finally about to receive a proper name. A comical vision shows the girl fearing the Admiral's tears could flood the entire mansion like a tidal wave. She offers him the cookie she intentionally saved for herself because it was the ugliest one. Blushing, the girl wonders if such a small treat is truly worth receiving a brand new name. Narrative text reveals her sorrowful realization that returning to daycare or becoming a chef is impossible. She reflects on the kindness of the staff, finding comfort in the food and new people. A narration box expresses her uncertainty regarding how long her stay in this home will last. Surrounded by lavender flowers, the girl feels her heart racing with anticipation for her new identity. Closing his eyes with the formal air, the Admiral prepares to officially return her sweet favor. A sudden radiant glow illuminates the young lady as she prepares to hear her new name. Carrying her gently, the Admiral formally declares that her name shall be Superti Pasayen from now on. The young lady reflects on the sweet sensation the name Superteed leaves lingering in her mouth. She cheers with pure joy, ecstatic to finally embrace her official new identity as Supertai. Looking up hopefully, she asks if this means she is officially the Admiral's daughter now. The Admiral gazes at her with a heavy, serious look, asking her to finally call him father. A look of quiet surprise washes over the girl as she processes his direct and emotional request. Despite her new name, she feels a lingering hesitation that prevents her from speaking the word father. A soft, rare smile touches the Admiral's face as he gently checks on her well-being. Narrative text notes her realization that she must eventually leave, though she is glad to stay. She senses her future path will lead her to a place distinct from both daycare and here. A mysterious, faceless woman in a flowing white gown stands amidst a bright, hazy light. The girl feels a strange, internal whisper that hints at a destiny far beyond her current life. The spectral woman speaks of coming from a distant star and returning there in the future. Startled out of her trance, the girl looks around in confusion, wondering what she just witnessed. Narration explains she felt a sudden presence and heard a warm, ethereal voice speaking to her. The Admiral asks what caught her attention, but she dismisses the vision as being nothing at all. He reveals she has two older brothers, mentioning the eldest is named Makard after a god. A silhouette of a young man stands amidst roses, his face hidden and his back turned. The Admiral tells her she needn't worry about meeting him, leaving her confused by the secrecy. A system notification announces that spirit kings of water, fire, earth, and emotion have joined the stream. A purple-haired witch girl appears on a credits page, waving a cheerful greeting to the readers. Observing him closely, the girl notices a hidden layer of sadness and sorrow behind his stoic mask. A soft, quick hug follows as the girl reaches out to provide comfort to the Admiral. The black-haired man looks stunned as the young lady clings tightly to his neck in affection. Remembering her past, she reflects on how she used kisses to soothe her crying daycare friends. A system quest appears, challenging her to comfort the Admiral with a kiss for a special reward. Horrified by the penalty of losing her sense for sweets, the girl becomes determined to succeed. She urgently calls out to the Admiral while reaching up to grasp his face with her hands. A gentle kiss lands on his cheek as flowers bloom around them during the tender moment. The Admiral's eye widens in absolute shock, completely frozen by the young girl's sudden affectionate gesture. Looking up with wide eyes, she continues to hold his face, searching for his emotional reaction. She softly whispers that she will hide him if he needs to cry, offering her total support. Stunned and speechless, the black-haired man can only stare back at her with wide, bewildered eyes. A bright, cheerful giggle escapes the girl as she feels relieved to have comforted her new father. She excitedly requests chocolate pudding for dessert while being carried, her mood shifting to sweet anticipation. Observing his peculiar expression, she concludes that adults must cry in a very strange, hidden way. The scene fades as the Admiral carries her down a grand hallway toward distant, ornate doors. The Admiral and the pink-haired girl, Super Tai, share a quiet meal at a grand dining table. Sunlight streams into the opulent dining hall, illuminating the ornate, high-backed chairs lining the long table. With an enthusiastic expression, the young girl takes a large, eager bite of her chocolate pudding. She says today's meal was so delicious while chewing her dessert with a content and happy smile. The young lady considers asking the Admiral about the bijou, a topic she has yet to discuss with Lena. The girl asks Admiral, "Guess what?" He responds, "Yes, what is it?" And she asks, "What is a bijou?" He explains, "I suppose there wouldn't have been anyone with a bijou at a daycare, so you might not know." A system notification defines a bijou as a crystallization of pure power, marking its importance in the world. The pink-haired girl repeats the definition, a crystallization of power, with wide eyes and a curious expression. He explains, first of all, when one becomes an awakened, a spot for the bijou appears on the face or somewhere on the body. Later, a gemstone will sprout in that spot. From then on, you can use supernatural abilities. Those are special powers. He adds, as long as that spot isn't damaged. The girl repeats, damaged, with a look of concern. He continues, it means you shouldn't show it to just anyone. There are those who target and harm awakened individuals before their bijou sprouts. Once it sprouts, it can't be easily taken away, so it's fine then. She asks, can't I even show it to Lena? He answers, Poseidon, no, only trust me, your brothers, Common, Lena, Cedric, and my father. She replies, okay, while realizing it is a precious secret she must protect very dearly from now on. A purple-haired girl waves as Super T asks, then when will Chu's bijou sprout? He replies, it will sprout once you're grown. Usually it appears around the age of 10. Of course, those with exceptional talent may have it sprout much earlier. The black-haired man looks at her seriously, noting that some exceptionally talented individuals awaken by age 7. The girl asks, how many sleeps until I'm 7? He replies, right, it would be nice if it sprouted at 7. She asks, then what kind of ability do you have, Admiral? And he replies, I summon the divine beast, the sea dragon. She exclaims, a dragon? Her eyes sparkle with intense awe as she marvels at the incredible coolness of his summoning ability. A faint, subtle smile touches the Admiral's face as he listens to her enthusiastic and innocent praise. Basking in her admiration, the black-haired man rests his hand on his chin with a smug smirk. The girl declares, I want to do something cool like that too, something really big and strong, so that I can easily protect even a name tag. The Admiral explains, oh, then the Spirit Kings aren't a supernatural ability? And clarifies, correct, being loved by spirits is an innate talent. A powerful vision of the girl appears as narration notes that summoning Spirit Kings is normally impossible. The man adds that summoning a Spirit King belongs to a separate realm from standard supernatural abilities. She thinks, then I guess I'm very loved because the Spirit Kings are watching over me. A radiant, joyful smile breaks across Super T's face as she celebrates being loved by the spirit world. The Admiral states, in return for the cookies, I have one more thing to give you. A hand reaches across the polished table, sliding a small, handmade item toward the curious pink-haired girl. Looking down, she notes that it isn't a class president badge, but it is just as good. A red paper crab sits on the table featuring a small white label with the words, my daughter. The label is intended for her to trust and lean on the Admiral as his official daughter. He says, if anything happens that you need to rely on someone for, come to me first. Tears of overwhelming happiness well up in the young girl's eyes as she stares at the paper gift. She tearfully exclaims, it's prettier and better than a class president badge. It's my #1 treasure from today on. He replies, I'm glad to hear you say that. Her small hands clutch the red paper crab tightly, her grip reflecting her deep emotional attachment to it. Surrounded by bright yellow blossoms, the crying girl holds the paper crab to her chest with pure gratitude. A purple-haired girl waves a cheerful goodbye. She thanks the readers for visiting the Scanlation website. Narration notes her feeling that she must eventually leave, though she is currently glad to stay. She reflects that her future path will lead her somewhere distinct from daycare in her current home. A spectral woman in a white gown appears in a haze, representing a mysterious internal destiny. The girl remembers the warm voice and the strange presence that passed before her eyes earlier. The scene shifts to the grand exterior of the mansion, standing tall under a bright and clear sky. A voice from a window asks, are you sure you'll be okay on your own, showing sudden concern? Showing only her pink shoes, the young lady confidently replies, yup, of course, as she begins her journey. Dressed in a fancy, bow-covered pink dress, Super T runs down the hallway with an excited, bright expression. She thinks, Lena said it was this way, right? She said it's the large door that appears after turning left. Reaching upward on her tiptoes, the young girl prepares to turn the handle of the massive wooden doors. Sunlight spills into the hallway as the heavy library doors swing open to reveal the grand room within. Stepping inside, the pink-haired girl lets out a gasp of whoa as she beholds the massive library. She marvels at the endless rows of books, surprised that such a massive collection exists inside the mansion. She asks, but I came here because I was curious about the names of the Spirit Kings. How do I find a book about spirits here? A final text bubble repeats her query about spirits and whether she will find information on the Spirit Kings. The light brown-haired man explains that a spirit contract would be an amazing cause for huge celebration. The bearded man promises a special gift and tea with her grandfather if she succeeds. The dark-haired man gently advises her not to overdo it even if she cannot succeed. 3 maids eagerly request a fire spirit to help fix the kitchen furnace that is acting up. The kitchen staff cheerfully asks for spirits to help with dishes and gardening while wishing her luck. A rhythmic tapping sound echoes through the hall as the girl continues her journey on foot. The pink-haired girl reflects on how everyone seems to expect her to contract with a spirit. To grant their wishes, she realizes she must first find a book to help her. Peeking cautiously around a wooden shelf, the young lady softly calls out to see if anyone is there. The library reveals a grand staircase illuminated by a soft glow from the high ornate windows. Small footsteps sound as she carefully navigates the long descent down the massive staircase in the center. Reaching the bottom, she looks around the vast room, searching for the specific section she needs. A soft, airy rustling sound fills the corner as the breeze catches the window handle nearby. Feeling a sudden cool breeze, the young girl wonders if one of the library windows is open. A boy with pale pink hair sits quietly, his eyes half closed as he rests near the window. She spots the boy sitting on a wooden bench, surrounded by plants and stacks of books. Her eyes widen in quiet surprise as she gets a closer look at the boy by the window. Observing his delicate features, she wonders about his identity and why he's alone in the library. As the girl approaches, a small purple-haired figure watches from above while the library remains peaceful. Struck by his appearance, the pink-haired girl thinks to herself that the boy looks remarkably pretty. Seeing his elegant clothes and the book in his lap, she mentally questions if he is a boy. She realizes the older brother has pink hair just like her, marking their clear family connection. The boy begins to stir and she anticipates him waking up as his eyes open slightly. Standing before him, the young lady offers a polite greeting to the boy on the bench. The boy coldly asks what she is, and his frightening voice makes the young girl feel scared. She explains she is looking for a book, but he dismissively asks what she wants from him. Looking up with a pleading expression, she asks for his help because she is too short. The pink-haired boy stares back at her with a blank expression, processing her simple and direct request. Surprised that he recognizes her, she asks if he knows her by her nickname, Chu. He mentions hearing about her kicking out the arrogant Ricardo and admits he liked that quite a bit. He asks if she can read, noting that awakened individuals learn much faster than most people. While walking, he asks what kind of book she needs, and she expresses curiosity about spirits. He correctly guesses she is looking for spirit kings and offers to find the book for her. Noticing his frequent coughing, the young girl worriedly wonders if the pink-haired boy is actually sick. He leads her toward a shelf, explaining that books related to spirits should be in this area. Reaching up, his hand slides a heavy volume from the shelf to locate the requested information. He presents a stack of books, asking if they will be enough for her research on spirits. She stares at the books before focusing on the specific one he is still holding tightly. Pointing toward him, she asks if he can also pull out the book he's holding. He places the books down and tells her to read comfortably while she thanks him politely. As he turns away, she wonders about the dark, ornate book he is still clutching. A close-up reveals the book's macabre title concerning the mysteries of the afterlife and near-death experiences. Fear of losing her ability to taste sweets motivates her to complete her current emotional mission. Seeing the morbid book title, she bluntly asks if he is dying, causing the boy to flinch. He acknowledges her bluntness and calmly admits that he will indeed be dying very soon. Looking at him with a firm expression, the girl declares that she hates that he is dying. Super T clutches her white dress tightly, feeling saddened that their first meeting might be their last. Aojin coughs into his hand, reminding the girl of the children at daycare who eventually disappeared. She recalls how those who coughed just like him would one day vanish without a trace. Reaching toward the green cushioned bench, the pink-haired boy introduces himself to her as Elgin. She explains that her name is Chu Superdi, leading Elgin to repeat her name with curiosity. Turning her head slightly, the young girl clarifies that she goes by the name Superdi now. Elgin gives her a gentle head pat, noting that the Admiral gave her a very cool name. The pink-haired boy offers a soft, genuine smile and tells her that he is glad she came. Leaning on his hand, he sighs that seeing her makes him feel he can die in peace. Superdi realizes that Elgin must be the second brother the Admiral had never mentioned to her. Elgin looks away thoughtfully, having seemingly already made up his mind to accept his own death. A series of sharp, painful coughs suddenly erupt from the boy as he hunches over in distress. Seeing blood on his hand, she panics while he calmly insists that such an occurrence is natural. Super T worriedly holds his hand and insists on wiping away the blood for him with her handkerchief. As she cleans his hand, Elgin tells her there is nothing to gain from helping someone dying. Looking at him, she feels a familiar, deep sadness, as if this has all happened once before. A miniature killer whale swims inside a small glass bottle against a decorative lacy blue background. She wants to help him, but Elgin explains his disease is incurable without sharing a companion's life. He refuses to steal anyone's lifespan, even if falling in love means a pitiful way to survive. A purple system window featuring a sobbing butterfly icon laments the tragic fate of their new alliance. Spotting a floating notification, Super T wonders if a quest reward could provide her with more magical sugar. The spirit kings of Earth and Fire discuss the difficulty of granting rewards to someone without a contract. A purple notification suggests asking the girl for a favor in exchange for a special reward stamp. The young lady considers if performing tasks for the spirit kings will yield more of her sweets. A fire-themed notification explains she must collect 3 stamps, and she determinedly accepts the challenge. A small purple-haired character in a witch hat tearfully clutches a fluffy pet against a white background. Elgin asks who she is talking to, making her cover her mouth to avoid revealing her secret. She laughs nervously as the boy remarks that it is good to see her smiling so often. As he pets her head, Super T wonders if he is starting to see her as his sibling. A vision of a dark ship battling a stormy sea appears as Elgin mentions becoming a beast. Looking at his gentle face, she decides it is best not to ask about his mother's fate. She recalls a maid saying that a person named Louiswood is the actual leader of the classroom. The spirits discuss providing another quest together, making Superti wonder what new mission they have planned. A blue screen lists a quest to find the Admiral's family portrait and learn his secret history. Superti reacts with wide-eyed shock at the penalty of eating 100 beans of spirit poop. Clenching her fists, she quickly offers an apology to the Spirit King of Earth for her reaction. The Spirit King of Water kindly asks her to collect 2 stamps before revealing the third condition. Carrying a heavy stack of books, Superti hops away while Elgin asks if she can go alone. She confidently declares herself to be strong because she ate 5 slices of apple pie for breakfast. Elgin is impressed by her appetite while Superti silently vows to find a way to save him. Surrounded by bright white flowers, the pink-haired girl wears a joyful and determined expression on her face. Standing by a tall wooden door, she decides to summarize all the tasks she must complete now. Running down the hall, she lists investigating Elgin's family and becoming vice president as her main goals. Images of fresh bread and sweets appear as she plans to bake and identify the Spirit Kings. She wants to work hard and earn her keep now that she is living as the daughter. Placing her hand on a book, she considers her 7th and most personal wish for the future. A golden frame portrait shows a faceless family representing her hope for a complete and happy household. Clutching her books tightly, the young girl runs through a field of flowers with a bright smile. Sitting on the yellow floor, Superti focuses on her reading while a small mascot cheers her on. The scene shifts as fabric rustles, marking the beginning of her very busy and emotional new mission. Pink-haired Superti studies her books, recalling the Admiral's past lessons regarding special individuals. Text describes the bijou phenomenon, noting that awakened partners experience an irresistible, fated attraction. Realizing she found Elgin's mentioned topic, Superti identifies the concept of partners sharing bijous. Superti rests her head on her book, feeling quite puzzled about the partner's definition. Chibi Superti excitedly thanks the Water Spirit King for clarifying that a partner is a buddy. A textbook explains that individuals with awakened powers usually have the ability to hide bijous. A purple-haired lady in a red gown stands before 2 men kneeling in her presence. Chibi Supertini concludes that possessing a bijou marks a person as someone very important and significant. Narration explains the bijou as a secret token of love before a mascot blocks the text. The book's pages remain blank, its secrets hidden from the young girl's eager eyes. A quick flap sounds as the pink-haired girl looks confused while flipping through empty pages. Superti rests her chin on her hand, disappointed that no one is answering her questions. Pages flap quickly as Superti complains that even the Spirit Kings are being very mean. Chibi Supertini is amazed to discover that bijous can manifest in many different unique shapes. Seeing the Admiral and Elgin together, Superputty wonders what their specific bijous look like visually. Superti considers her own potential bijou and wonders if her future partner will share her shape. A sudden, heavy thump sounds as the book closes unexpectedly while Superti watches in surprise. Supertiri stares wide-eyed, wondering how many nights of sleep are required to grow into adulthood. Superti throws her head back and cries out that growing up seems far too difficult. A system window appears as the Water Spirit King explains partners might never meet in life. Superti looks down with a saddened expression, thinking it would be tragic to never meet. Standing up quickly, Supertani wonders who actually makes the decision regarding who a partner is. The pink-haired girl receives a hint that the Spirit King isn't the Spirit King of Fate. Superti leans over her book, determined to keep reading diligently despite how hard it is. A joyful smile spreads across Superti's face as she remains focused on her current research. Supertini recalls that the Admiral has 3 children, though the 3rd child remains a total mystery. Superti observes a silhouette and notes that no one has ever mentioned the 3rd child's name. Surrounded by pink roses and strawberries, Superti declares she is extremely curious about the hidden child. A soft voice calls out from the doorway, asking a person named Lena to guess something. Lena, the red-haired maid, smiles while offering pink dough, asking if Superti needs anything else. Excitedly, Superti asks if her older sister is also depicted in the Admiral's hidden family portrait. A wet splat sounds as the dough falls to the floor after Lena hears the question. Lena's face pales in shock as she stutters, Where did you hear such a thing? Superti looks up at her, mentally wondering if her question was truly that surprising. Superti explains she heard about the portrait but hasn't seen it, while Lena realizes Elgin spoke. Looking troubled, Lena explains she cannot speak lightly of this and apologizes for her necessary secrecy. Lena mentions that while visiting the portrait's location isn't forbidden, the Admiral is not fond of it. Pleading with large eyes, Superti says, "But I'm curious about my sister. I want to go, please. If I don't go, I won't be able to finish my homework." Lena explains that the sister's name is a taboo subject, and Supertini softly acknowledges the secret. The red-haired maid offers a kind, knowing smile to the young girl as the conversation settles. Superti looks up with a cheerful and understanding expression as she agrees to the maid's terms. Walking along a decorated red carpet, Superti thinks to herself that she has noticed many things. She reflects that both Elgin's mother and the mysterious sister have gone to the distant stars. Superti concludes that this means the Admiral has lost his partner and his very best buddy. Looking at the Admiral's broad back, she realizes his past sadness caused his strange, cold expressions. Recalling her teacher's words about invisible heart wounds, she realizes the Admiral's heart is likely hurting. Standing among bright yellow flowers, Superati hopes to be the one to open the Admiral's heart. A close-up shows Superti's small pink shoes stepping forward on the ornate, light-colored palace floor. Superseti stands alone before the massive white double doors that lead to the Admiral's private area. She thinks of the children who coughed and then suddenly vanished from her life at daycare. A small killer whale swims peacefully inside a glass bottle resting on a delicate blue background. Superti considers that completing the Spirit King's request will earn her more magical sugar. Pink-haired Superti tentatively enters a new room while announcing her arrival to no one. Superti notices a lovely scent and remarks that the air smells like very sweet flowers. She observes that the supposedly empty room has been meticulously and neatly cleaned. Surveying the furnished room, she senses that someone might still be living in this space. A system window notes that the Spirit King of Water is providing points at the table. Superti turns her head quickly as she reacts to a sudden movement of realization. A large collection of wrapped gift boxes sits piled near a window adorned with flowers. A pair of hands carefully holds a large white gift box tied with a pink ribbon. A card falls from the gift as Superti lets out a small gasp of surprise. The pink-haired girl picks up the small white card from the floor to read its contents. The note from Egon expresses his agonizing longing for Aro on their 13th wedding anniversary. Superti looks at the card with a solemn expression, moved by the message's deep sadness. She wonders if the Admiral has been sending all these gifts to his departed partner. Seeing the Admiral's silhouette, she realizes he prepares gifts for someone who can no longer receive them. A close-up shows Superti's pink hair as she processes the meaning of having a partner. Supertitty looks around the ornate room and wonders if there is another hidden door nearby. She notices a long flowered curtain and notes that it obscured her view of the area. A soft sound of footsteps can be heard as Superti's pink shoes cross the carpet. Approaching a door, she recognizes a familiar flower scent that she has encountered once before. Placing her hand on the knob, she feels her heart pound with a strange, intense anticipation. Superati feels an irresistible pull drawing her toward the door as she begins to open it. The pink-haired girl peeks through the crack of the door with a curious and wary expression. Entering the room, she notes the door opened on its own and softly asks for permission. Superti lets out a loud, sudden achoo as she encounters the thick dust inside the room. She looks around the neglected storage space, noting that no one has cleaned the heavy dust. Superti stops in her tracks, her eyes wide with shock at a large covered object. Standing before a massive shape draped in cloth, she wonders what the big object could be. A notification says the Water Spirit King pushed her, encouraging her to remove the cloth. As she reaches out, she feels as though an invisible hand is guiding her actions. A soft rustling sound fills the air as the heavyweight fabric begins to slide away. She finds the Admiral's family portrait and feels relieved to have finally discovered its location. Superti sees a younger Admiral and is surprised to see Eldrum was once small like her. She identifies the older boy in the portrait as Macard, noting he looks like Elgin does now. Supertini's gaze shifts to the beautiful pink-haired woman in the portrait who is holding a baby. She is amazed to see the sleeping baby in the painting has the exact same hair color. A small purple-haired character in a witch hat tearfully clutches a fluffy pet while shivering. Superti realizes the woman is the Admiral's wife, sharing her own pink hair and blue eyes. She thinks the woman's cheeks look soft and feels they share many striking physical similarities. Looking closer, Superti feels a nagging sense of familiarity as if she has seen her before. A sudden sharp ringing sound erupts as Superti wonders what that painful noise could possibly be. Covering her ears, she pleads for the sound to stop as she feels a growing distress. A vision of a dark-haired woman holding a child appears as she begs for the noise to end. Superti is confused that the portrait's hair turned black and finds the new face strangely familiar. She recognizes the dark-haired woman as the person who has frequently appeared in her dreams. Seeing the woman in a long blue dress, she doubts that both figures are the same person. Her head begins to throb painfully as she struggles to breathe while looking at the portrait. Collapsing to the floor, Superti gasps for air as a suffocating feeling overcomes her. Tears stream down the girl's face as she cries out in agony from the intense pain. Visions of doctors in white coats flash through her mind, making her wonder who they are. Fast footsteps sound as a person rushes urgently down a dark and shadowy hospital hallway. A steady, high-pitched beep fills the room where a sick woman lies motionless on a bed. Crying out in pain, Superti screams for someone named Little Crab as the Admiral watches. A piercing beep sounds from medical equipment as Superti begs for the painful visions to stop. Surrounded by dark roses, a woman breathes through a mask while a beep echoes nearby. Superti sobs for her mother while a memory shows a child desperately holding a woman's hand. Chibi Superti explains that having a bijou is a major sign of a very significant person. Amazing herself with the discovery, Superti notes that bijous do not have just one single shape. Supertari gains a helpful hint that the Spirit King isn't the true Spirit King of Fate. Superti recalls that her brother's mother and her own sister have both departed for distant stars. Superti realizes the Admiral has suffered the loss of both his life partner and his buddy. A purple-haired girl in a witch hat waves cheerfully to celebrate another completed story segment. Weeping among blue and white flowers, the pink-haired girl begs her mother not to leave her. A soft thud sounds as the Admiral catches a small pink-haired girl after she suddenly faints. Looking down with concern, the dark-haired man wonders if the young girl has actually fainted. Kneeling before the family portrait, the Admiral questions the girl's true identity and her strange reaction. A glowing light appears as a voice tells a beloved daughter to remember a special song. A gentle stroke sounds as a hand pats the girl's head while she mumbles about listening. A long-haired woman holds the sleeping girl and sings about daffodils blooming near a willow tree. The song continues, describing a small gift box hidden beneath the pond as an offering for sorrow. Super T looks confused and wonders what the pond, the daffodils, and the small box actually represent. A shimmering butterfly flutters away as a voice declares its intention to erase these memories completely. A soft rustle sounds as the Admiral strokes Super T's hair while she cries out for her mother. Looking at her pained face, the Admiral wonders if the girl is desperately searching for her mother. The dark-haired man sits on the couch and notes this is the second time she's fainted. He reflects that Super T was an unwanted orphan he felt forced to adopt despite his initial reluctance. He considers that his sisters were too cruel or busy to take the child in themselves. Forced into a fatherhood role, he decided to try raising the girl despite his personal distance. He admits to keeping his distance from Superity except when he absolutely had to see her. He acknowledges her big appetite and the incredible power she possesses as a Spirit King's blessing. The Admiral remembers being told that the girl had entered the room filled with the daffodils. Initially, he dismissed her actions as nothing more than the typical curiosity of a young child. An unsettling feeling washes over him as he recalls someone constantly calling out to him strangely. To his horror, when he finally checked on her, he found Super T having a terrifying seizure. He compares the girl to his sons, noting she is a more difficult handful to properly manage. The Admiral stares intently at the child, lost in deep thought about her sudden medical crisis. Delicate flowers frame the scene as the Admiral continues to watch over the sleeping pink-haired girl. A light tap sounds as he encourages her to release her pain, accepting his role as father. A soft rustle sounds as Superity slowly opens her eyes and gazes upward with a blank expression. The dark-haired man asks if she is all right now that she has finally regained her consciousness. A smooth sliding sound is heard as her tight grip finally relaxes, much to his great relief. He recalls the doctor's assessment that her fainting spells were entirely triggered by a psychological issue. Frustrated by her unknown origins, the Admiral realizes he has finally discovered the true cause of her distress. A definitive conclusion appears as the Admiral realizes the young girl deeply misses her biological mother. A soft mumble sounds as Super T stares blankly and whispers that she finally remembers something important. A quick thud sounds as she hops off the couch, insisting she must visit the pond immediately. A steady tap-tap sounds as Super T walks away while repeating that she has to go somewhere. Looking startled, the Admiral calls out to Super Teeny as she begins to wander away from him. A soft rustle sounds as the Admiral observes that she appears to be sleepwalking with glassy eyes. A light patter sounds as Super T walks away, driven by a need to reach the pond. The Admiral searches the room with a worried look, wondering where the young girl has disappeared to. Super T remains in a trance, her gaze fixed forward as she continues her mysterious and silent track. A soft rhythmic patter sounds as Super T's pink shoes carry her purposefully toward an unknown destination. A heavy, deliberate thud sounds as the Admiral's dark boots follow the child through the silent hallway. The tall man trails the small pink-haired girl as they cross the moonlit floor of the manor. He questions if she is heading toward his private garden, confused by her knowledge of the layout. He reasons that she should only know the locations of the dining hall and other common areas. An unsettling realization dawns on him as he notes she has never entered the garden area before. Pausing near the window, he reflects on how many years have passed since he last visited the garden. This sprawling estate features multiple private gardens where entry is strictly forbidden without the owner's express permission. He recalls the first year after losing his partner when the pain of living alone was unbearable. Overcome by a suffocating grief, his feet would always lead him back to the sanctuary of the garden. He admits that he never found flowers appealing until his partner changed his perspective on their beauty. A memory shows the couple resting together under a willow tree, the only place he could sleep. He reflects that his entire world was meaningless before her, and her love was his only reality. Time passes in a somber blur as the scene focuses on the ornate locked gate of the garden. He banned entry to the garden to prevent his precious memories of her from ever fading away. His sons did not object to the decision, and the entire family eventually stopped visiting the garden. Now they only visit her old room to leave gifts and flowers while quietly soothing their grief. He stares with intensity, wondering how the child could possibly have navigated her way to this place. Here, a soft tap sounds as the girl points her small finger toward a specific hidden location. He is baffled that the child discovered something in the garden that he never even knew existed. A card expresses Egon's agonizing longing for Oro on their 13th wedding anniversary without her presence. Super Teeny thinks the woman's cheeks look soft and feels they share many striking physical similarities. A moonlit gazebo stands empty and silent, surrounded by the blooming flowers of the neglected private garden. He realizes 6 years have passed since his last visit as he follows her deeper into the garden. He warns Super Tyne that the pond is dangerous, but she appears completely unresponsive to his voice. The Admiral is struck by the scent of daffodils, a smell he has not encountered in years. Right here. A light rustle sounds as the girl points toward the edge of the dark water. Standing among the white roses, the pink-haired girl insists that the object is located right at the spot. Gotta find it. A splash sounds as Super T sits by the water, determined to find what is hidden. He warns her that the water is dangerous, but she insists that the treasure is right there. When he asks for clarification, the young girl whispers that she is looking for a hidden box. He stares at her with a look of deep skepticism, wondering if she understands her own words. He claims the pond is empty, but she insists she is following the instructions of a song. Super T recites lyrics about a moonlit path, a willow's shadow, and a box hidden beneath the pond. He finds her words nonsensical, but notes her absolute certainty that something is hidden beneath the water. He struggles to maintain his rationality while feeling a flicker of impossible hope rising in his chest. A memory of Oro appears as she calls out to Egon with a bright and joyful smile. She playfully explains that she hid an anniversary gift in the flower bed and challenges him to find it. He complains that searching the vast garden will take hours and asks for her help to find it. A soft rustle sounds as she takes his hand and promises to guide him with a song. He remembers how happy she looked and wonders how this child could possibly know their private secret. Despite his efforts to remain logical, he finds himself desperately wanting to believe in a miraculous connection. He wonders if Oro truly hid something in the pond that even he was never able to find. He reflects on her mysterious origins and considers the possibility that she might be linked to his past. Supreti explains that someone sang the song to her, though her eyes remain distant and unfocused. Gripping her shoulders, he urgently asks for the identity of the person who taught her that specific song. He realizes he is searching for proof of a biological connection, but fears the consequences of being wrong. He reminds himself that the ages do not match, casting doubt on the hope that she is his child. Admiral Egon reflects that his lost daughter would be exactly 9 years old by now. Super T insists on searching the pond, while the dark-haired man questions her sudden stubbornness. Looking determined, the young girl repeats her urgent need to find the hidden treasure immediately. A weary sigh sounds as Egon agrees to retrieve the object to satisfy the child's request. He tells the girl to wait quietly while he prepares to wade into the dark water. A heavy splash sounds as the Admiral enters the pond, soaking his clothes to begin searching. Standing in the water, he questions why he is performing such a task late at night. He assumes his late partner could not have possibly left anything hidden within the garden pond. After finding only rocks, a sudden bright sparkle beneath the water catches his intense attention. The dark-haired man stares with wide eyes, completely shocked by the unexpected discovery he just made. A soft splash sounds as he reaches down, wondering if this could truly be her trace. He pulls an ornate blue box from the water and stares at it with absolute disbelief. A wet thud sounds as his boot hits the dry path, dripping water after leaving the pond. A silent question appears as he wonders how the child could have known about the secret. Holding the box, Egon asks Super Teeny how she discovered something that was hidden so deeply. A blank look crosses her face as a dazed Super Teeny stares forward without truly seeing him. She beams happily and explains that the object was meant to be a gift for grief. The pink-haired girl innocently asks the Admiral if his deep sadness has finally been taken away. A close-up reveals a loving inscription from Aurora dedicated to Egon on the recovered blue box. A warm memory shows the long-haired woman smiling brightly as she expresses her eternal love. Staring at the girl, Egon questions her true identity and her mysterious connection to his past. He wonders where she could have possibly been hiding before appearing in his life like this. Supratai asks if the man is crying, but he insists that he is not actually shedding tears. A soft splash sounds as she wipes his cheek, playfully claiming he only has pond water. Overcome by emotion, Egon pulls the young girl into a tight weeping embrace in the garden. Looking surprised, Superti remains still as the grieving man holds her close and hides his face. A voice reaffirms someone that a promise to protect them will be kept no matter what. The girl tells him it is perfectly okay to cry when he feels the need to. Egon whispers his thanks and finally addresses Supreti by her name with a gentle, tearful smile. Kemen looks completely bewildered and asks why the Admiral was swimming in the middle of the night. The green-haired man questions what Egon is holding and why he entered the Forbidden Garden. Egon commands silence while Kemen admits that he finds the entire situation to be absolutely fascinating. Heading toward the bedroom, the Admiral tasks Kemen with keeping a close watch on the child. A sharp click sounds as the door closes, signaling the Admiral's retreat into his private quarters. Standing alone, Egon admits that he lacks the emotional strength to actually open the box yet. He reflects on the miraculous discovery of his late partner's last traces through the young girl. Clinging to the box, he breaks down and calls out Aurora's name in his silent bedroom. Egon orders his assistant to conduct a secret investigation into Supertai's true origins and background. Kemen reports that previous searches into her past revealed absolutely nothing suspicious or out of the ordinary. The dark-haired man stares at the treasure, considering the impossible possibility of the girl's identity. Kemen suggests it is only logical to assume she is the daughter of Egon and Aurora. A rational thought appears, suggesting that the spirit king of water must have informed the girl. Egon finds the idea of spirit intervention to be a far more convincing and logical explanation. When asked about the box, Egon decides to wait and open it with the one who found it. Camille notes that everyone still deeply misses Lady Aurora because she was such an extraordinary woman. He fondly remembers how she would proudly insist that people try the food she had prepared. A memory shows Aurora standing before a magnificent feast she prepared for the returning naval fleet. She always provided a generous spread of food whenever the Navy arrived home from their battles. Common reflects that there was not a single person in the city who disliked Lady Aurora. Egon looks somber as he realizes he can no longer clearly remember his partner's facial expressions. The dark-haired man thinks to himself that the child has no intention of ever letting him go. A soft snoring sound comes from the hallway as Egon carries the blue box past a sleepy Kamin. The pink-haired girl is fast asleep on a sofa, snoring softly while drooling in her peaceful slumber. Egon remarks that she even sleeps in an unappetizing way while a soft mumble escapes the child's lips. Awakening with a sudden and loud shout, the young girl screams for fried shrimp with wide, hungry eyes. Superteen cries out that she was just about to eat the shrimp, while Egon offers her his condolences. Egon tells Schufert he is going to open the box and she asks him what the object is. The young girl asks if she really found it, and Egon suggests they open the treasure box together. Narration explains that precious items usually have magic seals that only react to a specific person's touch. Egon tells Superity he will give her whatever is inside as a gift for doing a good job. A sharp click sounds as the magical seal on the ornate blue box finally releases its lock. The open box reveals baby clothes, a pink music box, and a blue item with a whale design. Egon notes the baby clothes and letter while Superity recognizes the music box from her old daycare. Handing the music box over, Egon tells the cheering girl to keep it for herself as a gift. The pink-haired girl thinks to herself that she has heard the song playing from the box somewhere before. Looking at the open box, the Admiral asks if the melody being played is a lullaby. Egon explains that the lullaby was recorded by his late partner, Aurora, who sang it to the children. Egon tells Superty she will have use for it, and the grateful girl responds with a happy thank you. Camille arrives with a tray of snacks and announces that the young lady's requested fried shrimp is here. A soft crunching sound is heard as the pink-haired girl bites happily into a piece of fried shrimp. Superty exclaims that it is yummy, while Egon warns her that she is getting crumbs everywhere. Looking up with a curious expression, the young girl asks the Admiral what he is thinking about. Superty smiles and says she is just happy because she likes the kind Admiral so much. A thought bubble reveals the girl is full and happy with her new music box and fried shrimp. A sudden thought crosses the child's mind as she realizes she does not remember something quite important. The young girl wonders to herself how she managed to end up in the Admiral's room tonight. Superty wonders how she found the box but decides it's fine since she likes being praised. Noting the good mood, the pink-haired girl considers asking about a certain thing she is curious about. Superty says she has a question, and Egon encourages her while she thinks he is being generous. The girl asks about a rule regarding bijou touching, and the Admiral confirms that her information is correct. Superty asks why the rule exists, while a notification says the Spirit King of Water looks worried. A dark-haired boy mumbles a thoughtful while the pink-haired girl looks on with an intense curiosity. Egon begins to answer the question, and the child prompts him to continue his explanation about the bijou. Egon dodges the question by telling her she will understand when she meets her own soulmate. A thought bubble explains that a bijou is precious and shared only with the person who matters most. Supertina asks if family is excluded while a green-haired Camille tries not to laugh in the background. The dark-haired man stares silently at the child, his expression unreadable following her blunt and innocent question. Superty smiles brightly and happily, seemingly unaffected by the Admiral's silence as musical notes surround her. Eek! A soft squeal sounds as Egon catches the girl, calling her a little rascal. Hee hee, it tickles! The girl laughs as Egon tickles her, accusing her of making things difficult on purpose. Looking joyful, the pink-haired girl asks when she will finally be able to meet her destined soulmate. The young girl asks, Admiral, as a hand gently touches her face in a quiet and tender moment. Egon thinks it's too early for her to have a partner, but she insists a soulmate is good. Yes, sir, Camille agrees as Egon tells the girl to grow up and orders him to bring dessert. Superty thinks that no one will tell her the truth, comparing the Admiral's secrecy to the Spirit King's. The girl's thoughts express her eager anticipation for the day she finally meets her destined soulmate. A floating thought bubble suggests that a certain situation is obviously untrue despite the hope surrounding it. The narration considers her unknown origins, suggesting the possibility that she truly belongs with the Admiral. A massive full moon glows brilliantly in the starry night sky above the quiet and peaceful estate. The scene shifts to show the grand and illuminated castle belonging to the Duke Rexamen of the Dom. A golden butterfly flutters gracefully against the deep indigo of a star-speckled night sky. Reaching out from the balcony, a hand waits as the glowing creature dances through the air. A close-up shot captures the intense focus of a single vibrant purple eye framed by blonde hair. Sitting among golden roses, the blonde-haired boy cradles a butterfly and promises to wait forever. The moonlight illuminates the ornate ironwork of the balcony overlooking the silent, dark gardens below. Releasing the creature, the boy dismisses the constraints of causality as he makes a secret choice. Surrounded by blossoming white flowers, a soft promise to visit again soon echoes in the air. The blonde-haired boy stares ahead with a gentle smile while a glowing butterfly rests on his finger. A quiet peace settles over the scene as his eyes slowly close in a moment of rest. The empty plates on the table signify the end of a satisfying and very hearty meal. Happily munching on a macaron, Super T receives a compliment about her surprisingly large appetite for her size. The pink-haired girl realizes she must uncover the family's secret history to complete her hidden mission. Looking up at the Admiral, the young girl tentatively asks if it is all right to ask a question. Egon grants her permission, while Super T notes that he seems particularly emotional when the topic is family. With a look of innocent curiosity, the pink-haired girl asks if she originally had an older sister. The Admiral provides the name Laurel, surprising the girl with how easily he chose to answer her. Egon explains why Aurora and Laurel are missing from the portrait, while Super T finds Aurora's name familiar. He recounts the tragic event from 7 years ago when his family was lost to the sea. A vision of a woman in the water appears as Egon notes Laurel's very young age then. As the girl listens, a shimmering light brings forth a soft, loving nickname from a hidden memory. Super T catches a fleeting glimpse of a smiling woman and hears a voice as soft as cotton candy. The dark memory of the shipwreck serves as a grim reminder that no one was expected to survive. Egon explains that Elzen fell ill shortly after the tragedy and wonders about the nature of his sickness. The Admiral describes the severity of the child's illness, noting how he suffered from frequent painful coughing. Placing a hand on her head, Egon asks if she is worried about the boy's deteriorating health. He reveals that Elgin suffers from reflux disease, a rare and painful condition that only affects the awakened. A visual of a heart trapped in energy illustrates how the internal power becomes a fatal, constricting force. Super T feels a pang of guilt, hoping her previous request did not cause the sick boy more pain. Comforting her, the Admiral explains that the adults are working hard to find a cure for the disease. Egon vows to protect her from future tragedies and tells the girl to place her trust in him. The two sit together in a moment of quiet bonding as the pink-haired girl leans toward the man. A magical notification appears, granting a reward of enchanted butter that inspires a desire to help others. Seeing the message, Super T celebrates the successful completion of her task and the arrival of her prize. A voice informs the girl that the reward will be kept safe until she is ready to use it. The pink-haired girl looks around and wonders if she has also earned her special achievement stamp yet. A sudden poof of smoke signals the arrival of a tiny floating spirit in the middle of the room. A grape-themed achievement board appears, showing one smiling stamp already placed on the purple fruit cluster. The small white spirit proudly holds up the board to show the progress made on the secret list. A close-up reveals a cheerful pink stamp that confirms a job well done on the achievement board. Hee hee! Egon chuckles at the child's antics and gently tells her it is time to brush her teeth. Super T wishes she could brag about her magical rewards, but realizes the Admiral cannot see the spiritual items. Turning back to the man, the young girl prepares to say something important during their nightly routine. The girl looks dejected while a confused Egon holds a toothbrush and wonders what has upset her. She reflects on the fact that her achievements are invisible to others and longs for outward recognition. Despite the lack of external praise, the girl finds the inner strength to tell herself she is doing great. Super T resolves to continue working hard for everyone's sake, even if her efforts remain largely secret. The morning light begins to filter through the window, signaling the start of a brand new day. A red-haired maid peeks into the room and announces that it is time to start the morning preparations. Springing up with energy, the pink-haired girl shouts her readiness to begin the day's many activities. The maid explains that tonight's family dinner is a special chance to meet the other members for the first time. While walking, the red-haired maid Lena asks Super T if she's bored while Mr. Cedric remains busy. The pink-haired girl replies that baking is fun and she still needs to give him sugar. Lena asks if the young girl remembers the details of the Passean family tree she learned. Super T confirms with a cheerful shout that she worked very hard to memorize the entire lineage. She recalls her two aunts, the silver-haired Violet and the dark-haired Cecilia, standing in regal attire. The family tree displays the gray-haired Uncle Nine and the dark-haired, purple-eyed Admiral Egon. Lena confirms Super T's correct identification of Admiral Diagon Poseidon as the fourth member of the family. Super T notes that only her uncle was adopted like her and realizes something else is important. The young child reflects on how her two aunts are currently fighting over a leadership position. Lena clarifies that Violet should be addressed as young lord while Cecilia is simply called aunt. Super Ty jumps for joy, celebrating her perfect memory as the kind maid watches her with a smile. Running through the halls, the girl receives a compliment about how well pigtails suit her appearance. Super T thinks happily about being praised and the delicious strawberry cake she enjoyed for her breakfast. Suddenly, Lena's eyes go wide with alarm as she shouts for the running girl to watch out. A frantic voice commands her to look ahead just as the confused girl realizes someone is there. A loud thump echoes as the pink-haired girl collides with the person in the hall. The collision leaves the pink-haired child and a blonde girl in red silk on the floor. A sudden, shrill scream pierces the air as the aftermath of the crash is realized.
The blonde-haired Angela cries that her new outfit is ruined while Lena asks if she is injured.
A lingering memory recalls the lullaby Aurora recorded inside the music box for the children. The girl struggles to piece together the fragments of her own hidden and missing childhood memories. A thought reminds her that a bijou is a precious secret shared only with soulmates. Her heart swells with eager anticipation for the day she finally meets her destined partner. Back in the hallway, Super T rubs her aching head and wonders who she could have possibly hit. Matilda rushes to check on Angela, lamenting that the girl's brand new outfit is now ruined. The blonde-haired girl begins to cry loudly while staring down at her spoiled and messy red clothing. Super T apologizes, but the brown-haired maid Matilda berates her for being a commoner wandering the manor. Looking up, Super T admires how tall and pretty the older blonde-haired girl appears despite the mess. The pink-haired girl offers to brush off the flour, but the blonde girl stares back with offense. Matilda's face twists into a dark, shadowed scowl as she shouts at the child with sudden fury. The brown-haired maid slaps the child's hand away, warning her never to touch the high-ranking young lady. The quick rhythmic tap of approaching footsteps sounds as the scene grows increasingly more tense. The red-haired maid Lena protectively pulls the pink-haired child against her as the argument continues. Matilda continues her tirade about the clothes, but Lena fiercely demands how she dare strike the child. The red-haired maid shouts with absolute authority that the girl in her arms is actually Miss Superdia. A firm hand rests on the girl's shoulder as her guardian stands tall against the opposition. The girl lets out a nervous hiccup, startled by Lena's uncharacteristic and terrifying display of anger. Softening her gaze, Lena looks down at the pink-haired girl and asks if she was badly startled. Matilda scoffs at Lena's protectiveness, mockingly referring to the child as nothing more than a lowly commoner. A purple aura surrounds Lena as the Spirit Kings offer various violent ways to retaliate against Matilda. Turning back to her own charge, Matilda smiles and comforts the blonde-haired Angela with a saccharine tone. Angela points at Super T and demands that she immediately untie her hair because they have matching pigtails. The pink-haired girl stares in disbelief at the older child's arrogant and selfish hairstyle demand. Super T clenches her dress, refusing to undo the hair Lena worked so hard to style that morning. Matilda orders the child to obey, calling the offer generous and labeling the girl's pigtails as tacky. With a determined look, Super T flatly refuses to untie her hair or admit Lena did anything wrong. A Spirit King's message praises Super T's bravery as the other elemental spirits gather to watch the drama. Super T feels emboldened by her allies, leaving the blonde-haired Angela looking completely stunned by the child's defiance. Angela turns to her maid for help, while Matilda dismisses the girl as an uneducated child. A menacing fire erupts around Lena as Super Tina realizes she must stop the maid's explosion of rage. Super Tia reveals that Lord Cedric is her teacher, surprising the adults around her. Matilda stares in wide-eyed shock after hearing the name of the girl's prestigious tutor. Super Tisha boasts of her studies under Cedric while Matilda wonders if the child is already a successor. Lena smirks while mocking Angela's inability to even approach the powerful family patriarch. The red-haired maid proudly declares Superdia an awakener while questioning why Angela still lacks a bijou. Super Tia tilts her head with innocent curiosity, asking if Angela is truly not an awakener. Angela recoils in shame as the pink-haired girl mentions never seeing her in the academy classes. Defeated, Angela cries to Matilda about her ruined appearance and demands to hide in her room. Lena watches them retreat as a magical window celebrates the young girl's overwhelming victory. Lena smiles brightly while promising to find the most adorable outfit for the evening special dinner. Super Tia feels a sense of relief seeing that the confrontation ended with Lena looking so happy. Terrified by the maid's earlier rage, Suprinti resolves to remain on Lena's good side. The afternoon sun shines through the windows of the manor's grand ornate hallway. A close-up highlights the intricate lace and ocean-themed patterns on the girl's new blue dress. Super T giggles as Lena squeals with delight over how perfectly the new outfit suits her. Diagon arrives in formal attire, noting he has come to escort the girl to the banquet. Diagon escorts Super T down the red carpet while explaining the dangers other awakeners pose to Elzen. The girl expresses her disappointment that Elzen was absent during her recent visit to the library. The Admiral looks down with a complicated expression, seemingly hiding something from the young child. Super Teeny notices the man's posture and wonders what item he is concealing behind his back. She suspiciously watches the Admiral, hoping he might be hiding a delicious snack for her. A magical message from Euperos confirms that the enchanted butter reward is being kept safely stored. Lena holds the girl's hand and asks if she has been bored during Cedric's busy schedule. Super T replies that she enjoys baking and still intends to deliver the orca sugar to Cedric. The young girl remains curious about why Diagon is standing so stiffly with hidden hands. Diagon reveals he has brought a surprise gift, much to the young girl's utter shock. The Admiral mentions hearing she lacked a doll, leaving Super Teeny stunned by his unexpected thoughtfulness. Looking at various plush toys, the girl recalls never caring for dolls during her daycare days. Daiga presents a large pink seal plushie as a special gift for his ward. Super T stares at the soft round seal doll with her eyes wide in amazement. Delighted, the girl hugs the peach-scented seal while Diagon invites her to bring it to dinner. Super T squeezes the doll tightly, overjoyed by the comfort of her new soft companion. She reflects on the peace she found in the music box's lullaby and her new treasure. A warm sensation fills her chest as she clutches the seal, feeling incredibly happy. Diagon commends her for handling the earlier incident with Angela with such impressive composure. He instructs her to never bow her head and to proudly announce herself as his daughter. Clutching her new doll, the pink-haired girl promises to follow the Admiral's firm advice. Superti admits that her excitement over the dress and doll made her completely forget about Angela. Magical notifications approve of her mindset, suggesting it is best to move past trivial matters. The two reach the entrance of the banquet hall as the Admiral prepares to enter. Maids open the heavy doors, announcing the formal arrival of Admiral Diagon and Lady Supertia. The Admiral and the young girl make a grand entrance into the brightly lit dining hall. Super T feels a wave of nervousness while observing the many unfamiliar family members gathered together. The bearded patriarch welcomes his fourth son with a booming voice and a steady gaze. Diagon politely acknowledges his father's greeting as they prepare to join the family table. The entire Pasan family sits at a long table laden with an incredibly lavish feast. Super T is stunned by the sheer scale of the banquet compared to her previous private meals. Overwhelmed by the delicious variety of food, the hungry girl wishes to taste everything immediately. The table is filled with fine wine and gourmet dishes, including plates of sliced ham. Suddenly, the girl pauses her meal as she senses an intense, unseen gaze focused on her. Blonde-haired Angela glares with crossed arms as Super T recognizes her across the dining hall. Eating a piece of steak, the pink-haired girl observes that the blonde girl remains grumpy. Super Titi eats happily, thinking the food's deliciousness should melt away anyone's bad mood during dinner. Diagon notes that Super Titi is eating well while the young girl enthusiastically confirms the meal is delicious. The Admiral mentions her family tree lesson from Lena as the girl confirms her perfect memory. Diagon identifies Aunt Cecilia sitting beside Angela and points out the empty seat reserved for Ryuyud. He explains that Cecilia switched seats to avoid being near Violet during the formal family gathering. Superti reflects on adults arguing and recalls Cedric's advice about doing unpleasant things when grown up. Watching Cecilia, the girl thinks she looks like a tasty swordfish that should be charcoal grilled. A wave of sudden surprise washes over the young girl's face as she stops her meal. Superti realizes she has just made eye contact with the elegant, silver-haired Lady Violet across the table. She admires Violet's pretty smile, thinking the older girl looks both incredibly gentle and impressively strong. Comparing her to a magpie, Superti notes Violet's vibe is completely different from Aunt Cecilia's sharp appearance. A magical window explains Cecilia's Medusa bloodline and sea snake nature, inherited from the ancient family lineage. After learning Cecilia is stronger but didn't get the seat, Superti understands why her aunt is angry. This system explains that a leader must be calm and see things widely rather than getting excited. Munching a cookie, Superti resolves to become a warm-hearted person who loves everyone in House Visayan. Diagon points out that the girl is getting food on herself while she considers her future role. A nearby relative's mouth curls into a wide smile while commenting on how cute daughters are. The pink-haired girl blinks in confusion, wondering who is speaking to her with such sudden affection. A handsome man with light brown hair beams at her, whom the girl recognizes as Uncle Nain. Nine wishes for a daughter of his own while Super T thinks he looks tired like Teacher Cedric. Super T offers him a cookie, leading Nine to tearfully ask if the young girl is an angel. Admiral Diagon looks on with a hint of jealousy as the girl calls his brother Uncle so easily. Seeing the Admiral's pouting face, the girl realizes that he might actually be sulking over her nickname. Nine acknowledges his brother while the young girl fidgets nervously between the two powerful men at the table. A sniffle escapes Nine as he admits his jealousy while Diagon asks if his life is hard. Crying comically, Nine prepares to explain his hardships before his sons offer him a shoulder massage. Super T leans around her guardian, trying to catch a glimpse of the two new voices she hears. Two young twins appear, teasing their father for being weak while Super T realizes they look exactly alike. The warm light of the banquet hall illuminates the golden pillars and ornate carvings of the manor. The green-haired twin mocks his dad's weakness while Super T excitedly realizes she knows exactly who they are. Looking at the pair, the pink-haired girl wonders if they are named Iliad and Niad. The brown-haired twin notes that she knows their names while the girl recalls they are 10 years old. The young boy with the light brown ponytail introduces himself as Niad with a bright welcoming smile. Super T introduces herself while noting that both Iliad and Niad are her 10-year-old twin big brothers. The girl asks about Elzin, leading Diagon to explain that Elzin is 11 and Micard is 13. Super T says she likes the twins, prompting Neen to encourage his son to show her a trick. The green-haired twin, Niad, smiles confidently while telling the young girl that his specialty is not hard. A lush green vine with sharp thorns begins to sprout and grow rapidly from the boy's hand. Super T watches in absolute awe as magical vines sprawl across the dinner table before her very eyes. A beautiful, vibrant red rose suddenly blooms at the end of the thorny vine with a magical flare. Sparkles fill the air as the girl asks if Naiad was the one who made the cool flower. Uncle Nine reminds her that he was also an adopted child of the family, just like her. He explains his crop-related plant ability and his flower-powered wife as the young girl listens intently. Nine proudly states that Naiad inherited his plant ability while the girl thinks the powers are incredibly cool. Super T recalls Cedric's lessons about plant abilities being vital because the land's saltiness makes farming difficult. Curious about the other twin, the pink-haired girl asks about Iliad's specific powers as the adults hesitate. The twin with light brown hair looks at the girl with a mischievous and energetic glint in his eye. Iliad offers to show her something cooler before disappearing under the dinner table, much to Super T's concern. Super T wonders if her grandfather is only being quiet because he isn't currently yelling at anyone. A strange sound of "her" erupts as someone exerts massive effort, drawing the young girl's attention. Iliad, the light brown-haired twin, lifts the table and asks the kid if it looks awesome. Super T lets out an amazed "wow" with her eyes wide and mouth hanging open. The young girl thinks about how incredibly amazing her two new twin brothers really are. The brown-haired twin beams with pride as he continues to show off his impressive physical strength. Super Tai asks if Micard is stronger, while the brown-haired boy confirms that Micard is truly incredible. She reflects on how Iliad just lifted the entire table with his bare hands so easily. Naiad admits he's never beaten Micard, while Iliad claims he almost won that one time. The pink-haired girl feels a surge of curiosity about her mysterious older brother, Micard. She wonders if Micard will like her, hoping to become close with him very soon. Iliad explains that returning from a mission at Mount Radam simply takes a significant amount of time. Super Tay recalls seeing the location on a map while Iliad explains the delay of group missions. She asks about her future missions, and Niad notes it depends on her specific manifested ability. Iliad explains that close combat users like him and Micard are considered tanks on their solo missions. He details how group missions also require long-range or support-type users who are called dealers. Healers and empaths make House Visaient unbeatable, much to the excitement of the two young twins. Superity mentions her grandmother is the current empath, though she has never actually met her. A narration explains that empaths require protection and must stay within the family's safe territory. The twins note that healing awakeners are essential companions for every dangerous group mission they undertake. Gazing into the distance, Superity wonders what kind of magical ability she will eventually awaken. She expresses a strong desire to go on missions and be helpful to her house. Iliad promises to protect everyone at the dinner table if Supertini becomes a healer. Diagon states that protecting the land and sea is an honorable duty for every Fesayan. He finds it admirable that the young girl is already thinking about fighting her family's enemies. Super T declares it is best not to fight, but if necessary, she'll punch like this with a hiya. Startled by the sudden blast, she lets out a confused "mph" while looking around in surprise. Super Tai exclaims, "What the heck?" while thinking she hasn't even done anything to cause this explosion. Iliad tells Niad to stand down while Niad complains he was going to handle it himself. Angela is completely shocked by the event while Aunt Cecilia remains coldly indifferent and unbothered. Lady Violet maintains her calm composure, showing no interest in the loud noise and sudden chaos. The bearded patriarch clicks his tongue in a sharp tsk of annoyance at the ongoing interruption. Diagon sighs, noting that something always seems to happen every time they sit down to eat. A low, pained groan of "ugh" comes from an intruder lying defeated on the floor nearby. Standing over a defeated figure, Diagon causes Superti to wonder about the identity of the intruders. She reflects on the peace of the previous night and the comfort of her new doll. Shocked by the sudden rudeness, the pink-haired girl stares at the scene unfolding before her. Diagon remarks that those Balerian dogs have no manners at all, showing his deep cold disdain. Superteen realizes that the Fesayan and Balerian families truly do not get along with each other. Despite the recent scare, the hungry girl reaches for more food as her appetite quickly returns. The Admiral turns his gaze back to the girl as she prepares to continue her dinner. Looking at the twins, she realizes Angela is the only person at the table she doesn't know. Recalling their previous fight, Supertini decides it is best to stay quiet and avoid Angela. Angela looks down with a troubled expression, remaining silent during the awkward family dinner gathering. Diagon explains that House Visayan currently possesses far fewer awakeners compared to the other great houses. He notes that the sea provides a natural fortress, preventing worries about invasions from other nations. A new fate takes shape at the border as every family member is considered precious. Diagon reminds everyone that any awakener adopted into Visayan stands as an equal to the bloodline. Lady Cecilia glares with a sharp, piercing look while listening to the Admiral's firm declarations. Surprised and timid, Angela looks up and asks, "Excuse me?" as she interrupts the conversation. The pink-haired girl glances nervously to the side, feeling the weight of the room's tension. Closing her eyes, she tries to convince herself that she is doing perfectly fine. Angela bows deeply with a cold sweat, acknowledging her grandfather's firm and authoritative command. A dark thought bubble expresses deep outrage over the special treatment Violet receives due to adoption. Cecilia and Bernstein stand in the shadows, plotting against the heir who connects both lineages. Fueled by deep-seated resentment, Cecilia expresses a violent desire to destroy the vice head seat. Bernstein questions if her hatred extends to murder while she clenches her hand in fury. Bernstein touches her face, suggesting a plan, as Cecilia insists that only Violet must be eliminated. He emphasizes the strategic necessity of having Reweed positioned on the inside for their scheme. Standing in silence, the woman with long purple hair contemplates the dark path ahead of her. Narration details how Reweed successfully passed sensitive information to the powerful Seven-Colored Committee. Using his youth as a cover, Reweed stealthily infiltrates Balerian territory to conduct his mission. Cecilia intends to leverage her son's gathered intel and merits to secure her own growing influence. Recalling Violet's perceived arrogance, Cecilia laments the lack of merit produced by the covert ops. Bernstein dismisses another man's suggestions of a territory war as nothing more than dangerous nonsense. As a maid tends to her, Cecilia worries about her father discovering her secret, risky activities. A sudden, sharp prick of pain causes the purple-haired woman to snap in startled irritation. Shaking with fear, the maid stammers out a desperate apology for accidentally snagging the lady's sleeve. The woman turns around with a cold, predatory gaze that leaves the trembling servant breathless. A hand reaches out and firmly takes hold of the lady's wrist, interrupting her outburst. Dismissing the servant, Bernstein notes Cecilia's general hatred for everyone except her own beloved son. He gently pulls her close, urging the frustrated woman to listen to his new proposal. The brown-haired man offers a soft smile while addressing the lady by her nickname, Chessie. She looks down at him, her sharp expression softening slightly as he gains her attention. Kneeling before her, Bernstein's posture is one of calculated devotion as he begins his explanation. With a skeptical look, she demands to know exactly what he is trying to say. He shamelessly flirts with the lady, telling her she looks beautiful even in her anger. Cecilia scoffs at his flattery, refocusing on the irritating commoner girl who successfully summoned a spirit. She reflects bitterly on Ricardo's missed opportunities and how his envy allowed glory to slip away. Cecilia considers how Angela's beauty will eventually allow her to manipulate followers and crush her rivals. She regrets not raising the commoner herself, noting that Ricardo's side is now protesting the inheritance. Bernstein's smile widens as he feigns surprise at the ongoing protests regarding the family's future. Infuriated by the tainted seat, Cecilia decides that the commoner adoptee must simply disappear forever. A vision of the innocent pink-haired girl appears, surrounded by a deceptive aura of light. Bernstein agrees that the child must be taught that her current behavior is strictly forbidden. He discusses the rumors surrounding the scratching incident, painting the pink-haired child as a crying instigator. Bernstein sighs over the patriarch's firm decision, his hand resting thoughtfully against his face. Snakes begin to stir within Cecilia's hair as she seethes over a commoner's perceived arrogance. A terrifying aura erupts as Cecilia's eyes glow red and sea snakes hiss from her hair. Unfazed by the transformation, Bernstein calmly advises her not to let her anger consume her. He whispers that they will teach the girl a lesson she will never forget, pleasing Cecilia. Bernstein promises to show the child a very different kind of happiness when she seeks him out. A sinister, knowing smile plays across his lips as their dark alliance is firmly solidified. He bows low to the lady, promising to carry out her commands with absolute loyalty. Far away from the plotting, the pink-haired girl's sincere wish to be helpful shines through.